Hey, welcome to the Brightside.
Yeah.
We got our special guest Lena from Herbyvore in the studio, and she's brought some interesting cheese products for us.
Indeed. Take a look at this. Yes, cheese made from peas. This is really amazing. So this is the company, and you can actually buy these pea cheese.
Yes, this is the brand. So you can actually buy the pea cheeses from our e-store now.
Yes, the website, I know that Herbyvore's website is herby-vore.com. And over there, you can definitely head on over to their shop and pick up these cheeses, especially if you're someone on a plant-based diet. It's definitely something to try. I have tried it. It's amazing. I couldn't believe that this was actually cheese. So we're going to head on air and we're going to talk more about it. But hey, look, you've actually made us some melted cheese sandwiches.
So I have some toast. We have the cheddar and the mozzarella toast.
Ooh, it really looks like cheese. It's amazing.
Gently melted.
Gently melted.
Yep.
So it really behaves like cheese and melts like cheese and all that. Okay. We're going to talk more about it on air. Thank you, Lena. George Michael with Faith here on the Brightside. Good morning, and I have faith in this cheese because I had a chance to try it. No, I kid you not. I was at the Specialty Food and Drink Asia for this year, and then I came across this store, and I just thought, it must be some really famous cheese. And then I saw like Herbyvore, like herbs, Herbyvore, and I was just like, what's going on? And she was like, I met Lena there, and Lena was like, this cheese is made from peas. And I was like, say what again? And then you taste it. Okay, Carol, Lena has brought in cheese. She's done like melted cheese, like a toast for us.
Thank you so much. Ooh,
Try the mozzarella first.
the lighter colored one.
Try the lighter
I like
color.
how you can get mozzarella as well as cheddar, like different kinds of cheese.
There's also Parmesan.
It blows my mind. Okay, I'm just going to pull a little. It's even got that stringy texture to it as well.
Correct.
Like mozzarella. How does it, what?
It's amazing, and it melts. It melts like cheese. The other dish you did at the SFDA was the chili, right? With the,
so we did a nacho. We did a cheesy sauce that goes with tortilla chips as well as, so that whole works. What we did was we melted the cheddar in a plant-based milk, added some hot sauce, and there you have it.
But you kind of explain to me, how is this even possible?
Right, so let me explain. The cheeses are actually made with a base of coconut oil. We have some starches and
I can taste a bit of that.
Yes.
The coconut, yeah.
Okay.
But that's that sensitive taste buds. Most people can't.
No, now that you mention it, is pulling it to the front of my palate.
Very I like the fact that she's a super taster.
But it's very balanced, and I was one of those that tasted it, and it just felt very balanced. I was just blown away that it was really very much like cheese to me. So even with that hint of coconut, it's very balanced.
The texture and everything, with the smell. I mean, the smell is what's blowing me away as well. I mean, how do you get that smell of cheese from a pea?
So, yes, so we have to use natural flavors. We use some yeast extract as well, but we do work with natural flavors to the most, I would say, the lowest level that we can, because we are kind of mindful that as a brand, we are quite committed to providing something that's sustainably nutritious, which means that it has to be sustainable not just for our health, for the health of the planet, but also nutritious in the sense that it must provide some form of health benefit. So we try to have minimal processing. We try to use we try to use ingredients that are, used, I would say, to the right proportion. And also we try to maximize the nutrients. And in this case, the nutrient we're talking about is the protein.
Yeah, because you don't often think about, health benefits from cheese. I mean, apart from maybe the calcium, but in this case, when you're eating cheese, you're going to get some protein.
Yes, so plant-based cheeses, most of the plant-based cheeses out there, obviously we don't have so many in Singapore. We are the first one to be developed in Singapore. That's true. But if you have imported ones, you will realize that the protein is actually very minimal. There's either 0 or maybe 1 or 2% of protein in the cheese.
It's because it's more starch-based, right? Or more carb-based, right?
I would say it depends. There are some products that they will say, okay, we are made of soy milk, for example, but soy milk doesn't have a lot of protein. Then mixed with all the other ingredients, then you might have less. For us, I won't say we contain a lot of protein, but as when we are doing the R&D, we max it out at 5 to 7% of protein, which is actually quite significant if you consider the amount of protein in various food.
And this caught my eye because I have a good friend, Sue, one of our DJs. She's actually lactose intolerant, but loves cheese, you know. So I was just like, oh, girl, you got to try this. It even melts like cheese. That's the mind-blowing thing. You tasted it. How did you find it?
It tastes, I mean, if I close my eyes and you didn't tell me that this was pea cheese, I wouldn't know the difference, really. I mean, towards the end, somewhere in the middle, you can taste like, okay, the finish is not quite the same of regular cheese. So that's when I start to like, oh, yeah, maybe it's a little bit different. But in terms of the texture, the smell, I mean, how did you get the texture?
Right. The
so
texture
similar?
we have to work with the oil, the starches. It's a blend of everything.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, the pea protein has a texture too, so we have to be mindful when we add that in. So what we try to mimic is, so you can see in our range, we have the Herby cheese mozzarella, we have the cheddar as well as the just like palmy, which is our rendition of Parmesan.
Oh.
And these three cheeses, we know the differences is that the mozzarella is more stretchy, the cheddar is a little bit harder, but stronger taste.
Okay.
The Parmesan is the hardest, so we try to vary our ingredients to kind of mimic what people are familiar with in terms of the usual traditional dairy cheese.
Okay, we're going to head on to our Facebook Live for more questions about Lena as we find out about this cheesy peas, or is it pea cheese? I don't know what to call it, but it's so delicious. And it's just amazing. It's mind-blowing. So come and join us on facebook.com/1FM913.
Are we back up?
Yeah, we are on Facebook Live.
Okay, hi everyone!
You wanna...
Hello everybody!
Hey everyone! Here on our Facebook Live, we've got Lena Tan. She is the head of marketing and business development over at Herbyvore. Head on over to their website to find out more. I mean, proof is in the pudding. Go and order and try it. Head on over to Herby. It's HERBY-VORE.com. The shop is right there. And yes, these cheeses, oh my goodness, Parmesan, mozzarella, and cheddar, all made from peas. This is incredible.
Look at the goodness!
Yeah, and she brought in some yummies for us.
Okay, I've just picked a little bit off.
The
two
mozzarella?
slices. The mozzarella, I tried the cheddar, my goodness. Okay, so like I said, if you were to put this, like say in a sandwich or a pizza or nachos, which I like,
Yes.
I like covering my nachos in cheese.
You got to try Lena's nachos.
I cannot
Super
tell.
good.
I can't tell that it's not real cheese. Yeah, and especially when you first pick it up and you look at it, it's like, what? It looks the same. Yeah, so well done, you guys.
Thank you.
This is amazing tech.
How long did it take to develop this cheese product, this pea cheese product, I should say?
I would say probably, well, we did a lot of back and forth because
of
every
course.
time we think that we got it, then we go and produce and we're like, still not good enough, and then we we went back again. So I would say probably 2 years, but
Only 2 years though.
but we are
Pretty
still
amazing,
looking
yeah.
at refining. I would say along the way we are still hearing from chefs, hearing from consumers, and seeing what else can be done in small little steps. So we're kind of adopting a Kaizen approach now. Every time we try to get the feedback, we'll see, okay, is there something else we can do that will make it better?
Okay. Have you introduced the product into any restaurants here in Singapore or shops?
Yeah, so we we only launched the full range in August. So we don't have that many, in terms of footprint, we're not like everywhere. Cultivate Cafe uses our cheeses, and they are Maxwell Reserve. So we're speaking to some other, whether it's plant-based or mainstream, we're speaking to hotels as well. But as you know, it takes time for chefs adoption as well. Yeah.
I would say price-wise, it's actually not that far off from real cheeses. I'm looking at your shop right now. It's really not that far off.
Yeah. So we wanted to do something. We didn't want to penalize people from adopting plant-based because a lot of times people get upset like, okay, if I go to order oat milk with my coffee, then I have to pay $1 more.
Yes.
And that's a pet peeve of many
Stop
people.
that.
Yeah. So
Please.
Or maybe peas.
Please.
Yeah, peas. Well, so I think when we set out to do this, at least internally we agreed that we wanted plant-based options that doesn't cost as much, affordable nutrition I would call it, and obviously to me price parity is best if we can achieve it. Of course, I'm not saying we are exactly at price parity, but I would say over time the prices of dairy will go up because it's very unsustainable to produce. It takes 5,000 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram of cheese. So if you think about that, that's conventional cheese. So if you think about it, and in terms of the carbon footprint, it's really high. I mean, dairy is one of the top 3 food groups for carbon emissions, your greenhouse gases.
Yes, true,
So in terms of the longer term, it's going to be more and more expensive.
Yeah.
And for us, it's probably going to be cheaper over time because as we up our production, it could become cheaper if there is more adoption. So it's
Yeah.
a relationship.
That's a very interesting point.
Yeah, because that leads us to our next question about, with the energy required for producing plant-based products, is it really better for the environment?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question. I was looking through literature as I was preparing for the product and whatnot, and in 2018, there was a study that the authors actually took a lot of effort. They went to look into the data generated by about 38,000, I would say, farms across 119 countries. And then they combined all that they learned, because all these places they produce are so-called, our food, right? And then they look into the carbon emissions. They also look into, does the food we eat matter more than where they come from? So the answer to this is that, based on that study, is that the food we eat is more important than where it comes from in terms of the carbon footprint that it generates. So carbon footprint, when they try to measure it, they look into greenhouse gas emissions. And the one that is right on top in terms of the most being generated is actually beef. So for 1 kilogram of beef, you need 60, I think the number is 60. You emit actually 60 kilogram of greenhouse gases.
Wow.
And that's massive. And you contrast that to peas. For 1 kilogram of peas, you actually generate 1 kilogram of greenhouse gases.
Yes. And I'm sure the pea plant, right, as it's growing and making all the peas and everything, it's also taking in carbon dioxide, right?
Yes, because it's a crop.
It's a plant,
yes.
right? It's a plant.
So that means that if you look at 60 versus 1, no matter how much processing a plant-based food undergoes, it will not be able to match up to that kind of proportion.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Wow,
I feel like the debate in me has been sort of resolved.
Yeah, because we have been wondering, and you watch your documentaries and all this energy output, it's cutting from here but adding to here,
Yes.
left hand, right hand kind of situation. And so, I mean, at least with plant-based foods and products, I don't feel so bad.
It's nice to know that even with the processing that's involved, because we know that takes energy as well.
Yes,
it's
takes
still
water
less.
as
Yeah,
well.
and it's
Water
still
footprint
less.
is something that perhaps is not even considered sometimes. So it's both carbon and water footprint.
Yeah.
And cheeses may have, probably cheeses less water. No, sorry, cheeses have a high water footprint because of the amount that's needed to process. Yeah, if you see how people process cheeses, you will see a lot of water being used.
Lena, I have an idea for your future business development, especially in terms of the next cheese to produce under Herbyvore. You use the sweet, the blue pea flour, get the blue color, right?
Color.
And then you make blue cheese.
I would love that.
That's a different kind of blue cheese.
Well, but sometimes people eat with their eyes first.
Yeah.
If they can see that it looks like it, it's much more likely that they will accept it because it looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got some questions on our Facebook Live. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's really such a great discussion. I mean, I'm learning so much more about the whole plant-based, the trends and all that. And actually, we're going to get Lena to share a little bit more about that in just a while. But I want to share some questions from all those tuning in. We've got Candida asking, is it the kernel or the skin of the peas that is used in this process of making the plant-based protein and the cheeses?
Okay. So there is a process. There's a manufacturing process. We have a factory that does that. The factory actually takes the peas, and the peas are grown in Canada because we are not an agricultural producing country. So peas are widely grown in Canada, and we have a business there. So we actually have a factory that takes in the peas straight from the farmers, and we extract the protein. So there is a manufacturing process, and it will look like powder. Yeah. So you look like a pea protein powder,
Which you can get here anyway in stores.
which you can, there are different grades of pea protein powder, I would say. But then again, you can use the pea protein in a variety of applications.
Yeah.
For example, you can use it to make a plant-based food. You can use it in a plant-based milk. In
It's
our case,
often in
we
dog
chose.
food.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, exactly.
A lot of dog food has pea protein.
Yeah,
or pea
Because
powder.
it's safe for them to eat.
Yeah,
Which
in
is safe.
certain amounts.
Yeah, safe for them to eat and also nutritious for them and better for the environment. As if you think about it, what's stopping people from giving their pets plant-based food? Which is better for them. If you didn't,
We're already slowly moving to bugs, and then there are dogs who are also lactose intolerant, and so like with ice cream, they love
but they
ice
can't
cream.
eat it.
Yeah, so you have to find alternatives for that. As
Lena, we're gonna need some Herbyvore ice cream. Okay.
For
I
dogs.
just want to tell you first. Gotta get that going.
Actually, I think peas would actually make a nice
Peas,
texture with
yeah,
ice
peas
cream.
are good friends with chocolate.
Yeah,
we
good
have,
friends with chocolate.
yeah.
I love that.
We had a comment from Aaron who was asking, like, does it behave like cheese? Does it melt? Is it stringy?
Well, I would say it doesn't melt the same way as your
Yeah.
traditional mozzarella, but it also depends on, what kind of mozzarella are you comparing to. Sometimes the more processed it is, the more it stretches.
Correct.
In our case, it stretches a little bit, but it wouldn't stretch like so long. I would
Yeah,
say you
yeah,
can
yeah.
pull it a little
A
bit.
little bit. It did stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, when you're talking about cheese, there's so many different variations.
I'm
you
gonna
know,
show
when it
this.
comes to like just cheddar alone, there's so many types.
Yes.
So mozzarella as well.
So-
So this is one kind lah.
So it's hard to please
So it's
everyone's
actually-
palate, I'll be honest about it. Sometimes we do a blind taste test. Some people say, oh, we love this. The next time we do with another group of people, they say, no, we think it's not strong tasting enough.
Yeah.
And then we get people who say it's too bland, others say it's just nice. And we get difference in opinion among, like you say, foreigners who are staying in Singapore versus local Singaporeans. So it's still like work very much, I would say. That's why we're still talking about improvement and improving over time.
Yeah, wow. Depends on, yeah, exactly who you are marketing the cheese to. Is it for the cheese aficionado? Is it the average cheese person who uses cheese every now and
Yes.
then? All right, we're heading back live on air, so do join us there. I'm going to find out more about what we can do with this cheese. Yes. 1FM 91.3, good times, greatest hits. Whitney Houston, and so emotional. And yes, this morning on the bright side, we're getting very emotional about cheese.
But it's pea cheese.
It's pea-based cheese.
I can't wrap my head around it.
Which is
even
why
up to
I'm
today.
emotional. It's like, how is this magic being done?
Yes.
And of course, we're live on Facebook as well. We've got Lena Tan from Herbyvore. She's the head of marketing and business development. Share with us about the technology going behind the making of cheese from peas.
I think that question that you asked on Facebook Live was really good because it's something that a lot of us who want to make that switch to healthier products, those products that are good for the environment as well.
Yeah, so we've been watching documentaries,
Yes.
and they're telling us, okay, when we reduce the greenhouse gases from this, it somehow adds to another area of production as well. So, with the energy required for producing plant-based products, right, are they really better for the environment?
And you shared with us about the study. You were looking through the literature. Could you go in a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, there is a big difference in terms of the greenhouse gas emission. If you compare different food groups, beef is actually the top. Dairy is one of the top three. Usually it's number 3, and then peas is all the way below because it's actually, I would say, growing pulses. Peas are part of the group of family we call pulses. They're like the dried seeds of the legume plant. And you realize that when you grow pulses, it's actually better for the environment. First of all, it doesn't need a lot of water to grow.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually, I would say, drought resistant.
Oh.
And it also, when you grow pulses, there's this magical process. It kind of injects nitrogen back in the soil.
That's right.
And it reduces the amount of fertilizers that you need, which is wonderful because fertilizers need a lot of water to produce as well. So growing this crop, growing pulses, that means your chickpeas, your peas, your whatever lentils, is actually already good for the environment. Even before we started consuming them, they are good. The problem really is that a lot of our diets, I mean, if you're not of Indian descent, you tend not to eat a lot of pulses.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you don't eat, what can we do? Even at the best marketer can't force anyone to eat if they don't want it part of their cuisine.
Yeah.
So, but if we were to extract protein out from these peas as pulses and then make them into products that you eat, for example, cheese.
Yeah.
I think that might be the start of a better way to encourage adoption.
Yeah, it might start a relationship going, and also a conversation. I
Yeah.
mean, you were pointing out that just 1 kg of beef produces, what's it again?
60 kilograms of greenhouse gases based on the study.
Whereas 1 kg of peas produces
1
just...
kilogram.
So even if there was some processing, some post-processing involved in extracting the protein, it's still going to be less
Yes,
than
it will
that
be less.
60 kilograms of carbon footprint generated by beef itself.
Yes,
So breathe easy, rest easy,
This
eat
has
your pea cheese.
appeased the community.
I would say again, doesn't mean that every plant-based product has the same amount of carbon footprint. It depends on how much processing.
Yeah.
Our processing is very simple. It's not like very sophisticated and extensive heat treatment. No, we don't really need to do that extensive.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that it would add on a lot more to that whole process.
So over at their website, herby-vor.com, you can also find the cheeses, but also plant protein blocks, which you can use in your cooking.
Yeah,
right?
so the plant protein block was our first product actually, and what we did was basically to use a lot of pea protein, put it into a block that looks like a tofu, and then we use it as an ingredient. So we have used it to make a ricotta cheese, and we have used it to make a meat replacement. We have used it to crumble into a parfait so that you take away that need for a dairy creamer. We actually produced the cookbook for it.
Oh,
so
wow.
that we kind of, you know, the end thing about, I mean, I would say that the bottom line is, you know, when you want people to adopt plant-based, it has to be tasty.
Yes.
We have to teach people how to use it so that the end result is tasty.
That's true.
And I guess also for them to use it in a way that they're familiar with, you know, so like a tofu-like block, they can kind of understand it and get their heads around it. So the recipes, the products are all available at their website, how cool, herby-vore.com. Give it a try, guys. You know, it really is quite amazing. Lena, thank you so much for joining us here today and bringing all these to share with us.
Thank you.
I think you have a convert here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you, ladies.